Unprecedented in the history of the internet, Egypt shuts down services on a second day of planned countrywide anti-government protests. Power driven by a new breed of people across all sectors seems unstoppable. Has the Tunisian phenomenon spread to Egypt? What do these mainly young Egyptians want? How do they plan to achieve their objectives? This is Inside Story. Hello and welcome to this special edition of Inside Story from the Egyptian capital, Cairo. I'm Jane Dutton. Egyptians, young and old, have been taken to the streets despite frequent warnings by the government, which has already used brutal force against many of them. A few weeks after the Tunisian uprising, are the two related? What about other popular movements in some Arab countries like Algeria, Jordan and Yemen? How do young people in Egypt manage to organize themselves, and what are their demands? We'll find out in a minute from our guests here, but before that, this is what people have been saying on the streets of Cairo.
I took part in the October War, and I am still ready to fight again and again against the oppressors, against Hosni Mubarak, the oppressor, against Gamal Mubarak, the oppressor. Down with Hosni Mubarak, down with Hosni Mubarak, no to Gamal Mubarak.
I am here because I want to do my part in changing the country. We've been under Mubarak rule for 30 years, and all we've seen is constant humiliation.
We came today because we have no other chance to get our rights. People have to be with each other and together so that we can all say one word of truth, one last word. All these people have a lot of demands. First, rising prices. Second, the increase in unemployment. 60% of Egyptians are unemployed, not 20%. So many people live under the poverty line.
We are after change. We seek to restore our rights. Egyptians have been denied their rights. I don't belong to any particular political party. I'm one of the people.
I am a son of Egypt. I love my country so much. Obviously, we have demands. Prices are very high while our wages are very, very low.
Well, joining us in the studio are our guests today. Gigi Ibrahim, a political activist. Amr Waked, an Egyptian actor. And Wael Khalil, a blogger and political activist. And via satellite from Tunis, Fida Al-Hamimi, a graduate student and activist. Thanks very much for joining us. Gigi, I'm going to start off with you. What's your response to this, what's been called unprecedented action of shutting down all internet services across the country?
Well, it's definitely difficult to not be able to connect with people and know what's going on in different parts of Egypt, and the response from abroad as well. But I'm very proud of being an Egyptian today, knowing that our government is that afraid that it shuts down internet on people who are asking for their rights.
Amr, is that what it is? Is that a sign of fear from the government?
A sign of fear and weakness as well. I don't think that a government with such ballistic power should be scared of Facebook and Twitter. That's a really...
Like slapping you down with the flowers.
Exactly. It's a sign of weakness, I think.
And well, it's going to make your work pretty difficult, isn't it?
It's really funny. I mean, none of us could have expected their collapse like that. None of us. The most optimistic that they shut down mobile phones now. I mean, that's no people in control or in power.
Why on earth do you think they resorted to that? I mean, this is surely something that's really going to inflame your anger and passions.
I think they're just doing what they can. I mean, people are mobilizing through internet. Let's shut the internet, or let's shut Twitter and Facebook. Oh, people are finding ways around that using proxies and hacking tools. Let's shut the internet. People are sending messages. Let's shut the messages. People are using mobile. So people will go down to the street at the preset time, at the preset places. Nothing you can do about that.
Do you think it would have been more effective for the government to just step back and say, do as you want?
I think the most effective thing that the government should do today is to make a radical response to the demands of the people that are taking the streets. They have to try to contain the anger psychologically, and not by blocking their means of collecting. I think they should probably listen to their people for once in such a drastic moment. They've seen what happened in Tunisia. They've seen the anger that the Egyptian people have on the street. They've seen a regime that's decaying. They have to side with the people. Whether
let's bring in Fida. You mentioned
Sure.
Tunisia, and Fida was involved in a lot of these demonstrations. What is your response, and what are people's response in Tunisia to the fact that the Egyptian government has closed down all these services?
Well, I think that we're as outraged as Egyptians, because this is totally unacceptable, and this is not a way to fight the uprising in Egypt. They should have learned the lesson with what happened in our government in Tunisia. The more violent and oppressive you get, the more violent and angry people will be, and they won't give up the fight just because you closed internet or you kept them from sending SMSs. It won't be that. That won't put a stop to the anger of people and the uprising of people in Egypt, because they are motivated with genuine anger and genuine urge and need for freedom and for better conditions.
But that would have had a rather devastating impact on mobilizing the people in Tunisia, wouldn't it, if Facebook had been closed down and Twitter, because you really used that incredibly successfully.
Well, the internet played a role in the mobilizing people in Tunisia, but even when they shut up the pages on Facebook and the events and the groups, we always found a way to hack into it and to stay connected, but they did never shut down the internet connection totally, so that didn't happen in Tunisia.
That's right, it was just Facebook and Twitter that they focused on. Gigi, you are organizing some sort of event. You've been very secretive about it, about telling us. How would you get around this? Because you were telling me a little bit earlier that a shutdown, sort of midnight last night, you were unable to connect your allies.
But the message was out already. The message has been out since Tuesday, that Tuesday was going to be the start of the end, the beginning of the end. And it's going to continue on until the demands of the people are heard. And
okay, but how have you been communicating? How's the word been spreading so quickly?
Well, up until last night, people were still using Facebook and Twitter just like through proxies, even though Twitter was down, and phone calls and messages and everything. And the word is out. I mean, the people know what's going on in the media and are able to see it in the newspapers and all. I mean, the pictures show it for themselves. And people,
Friday,
yeah, exactly.
Friday prayer is a day where Egyptians collect on the street, regardless if they have Facebook or Twitter. It's when the people have their weekly prayer, and each mosque is usually packed and with even more people outside on the street for the
people
prayer.
are persistent
on
being in the streets, I would say.
Now, we're speaking to you before Friday prayer, because I know that you're all about to dissipate and you won't tell me where you're going. So it could be a very different story by the time this airs. What do you think is going to happen after these Friday prayers? How important is this now to Egypt?
I think there is a strong power struggle going now between the people and the government. I mean, whoever lost, whoever stands their ground is going to win. The government is using their cards very quickly. They're doing things that should take weeks. They're doing them in days. I mean, what's next? Curfew? I mean, that's easy. People will still go down. What do you go next? You take the plane and leave. And I think they're just making things easier for us. You don't have really to go out and convince people how weak they are, how corrupt they are. People are already knowing that. People who have not heard of the mobilization will hear about them because their mobiles are shut, their internet are shut, they're going to the mosques, and they're going to find people who are planning to demonstrate in the mosques.
But what about the fear factor? I mean, I know that your brother was arrested and he was released on Thursday evening, fortunately.
You know what I did? He was arrested in Shobra.
Yeah.
I went to Midan al-Tahrir and I shouted against Mubarak. That's the result they made me do when they took my brother, because, you know, I'm a man of reform. I like the change. I want the change.
How does it feel, though, sorry, as an Egyptian, to be shouting out for the first time ever? We're sick of this. I've had enough.
It's not the first time for me.
No, but you're calling down for the government.